Good afternoon, good morning, and good day, and once again, not in that order. It's your large lad himself, large scrunculus prime, in other words, or aka Big Buppo. And today I have a question I have been pondering after testing this. Are bow builds cheating in duels? Yes, but actually no. And the reason I say it is because it is a entirely different playstyle with an entirely different goal. In the last video, you guys saw me do a rotten poison build, or just another form of an arcane build as well. Basically everything that wasn't bleed. I thought to myself, what if I did something similar, but like this, from far away? And what I learned was, it's very evil? I don't know how else to explain it, and I don't know how else to say it. It's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. But what I'm doing is essentially, I'm playing keep away. I'm gaining as much distance as I can to be able to play my game. I'm not doing Elden Ring duels, essentially. I'm not doing Elden Ring PvP in this moment. I am light rolling away because, yes, this build essentially got buffed with the recent patch. Giving us light roll distance, right? So the light roll is essentially practically the new Bloodhound step. Like it is, but it isn't, right? It's more stamina dependent now than it is mana dependent, but with good timed rolls, you can do a lot. And even here, I'm low health, I'm being pressured, I've been frostbitten, but he's making the carnal mistake against a bow build in a duel. He's giving me space, he's giving me distance. Sure. He hit me with that crossbow bolt, but crossbows are sad and do no damage, much like arrows. So arrows, to make the most of this build, you gotta rely on status effects, which is why it's in the same vein and in the same concept as my poison build. And with the different types of arrows in this game, you can get a lot done. Like you saw there, just 2 seconds ago, I managed to bleed him. Sure, he died from the arrows themselves, and yes, the arrows can do a lot of damage when landed successively, but realistically, statuses are going to be what carries this build. Statuses and consumables. I believe it's in this fight where I start using the perfumer bottles there. They're super handy and super useful for when they get too close. You can force them to get away from you with the perfumer bottles. You use it as a punching tool. It's like, oh, you got too close to me? Perfume. You're running at me? Perfume. You're running away from me? I'm just going to start shooting. Also, you saw there, arrows do poise damage. Not a lot, but when you land successive arrows, you start decreasing their poise little by little, slowly but surely, taking away their ability to not be stunned by the next attack. And yeah, had I have been hit by that last attack it did, I could have been dead. And there you go. You saw how I did there? I used that perfume bottle to control the area. Same thing goes with this volcano pot. Volcano pots, very useful. No one likes taking damage, so even if it's just a tiny little amount, even if it's just a little bit of damage, it still gets in people's heads. And if they stand in there, a little bit of damage goes a long way. And again, it's another type of those builds where it's psychological warfare, where I am purely in my opponent's head. I'm making them frustrated, probably. I'm making them angry, probably, because not a single hit is going to get me. And I'm low health, but I'm chilling because I know I'm here and he's way over there. And it's only a matter of time. If he keeps giving me this distance, if he keeps giving me this quarter, I'm going to take it. And I'm going to take it every time. And that's essentially what I've found works with playing a bow build. It is a lot of fun, but it's an entirely different mentality from regular PvP. Like, I'm not running in. We're not playing this game of, like, will they, won't they hit? Will they, won't they roll? It's not a swing, miss, roll, then they swing, miss, and roll, Or swing, roll, miss in that order. But you know what I mean? Like, it's not this game of where, like, oh, will he hit me first? Will I hit them first? It's like, no. It's, I'm going to pepper you with arrows, and you have to get close to me to do damage. But every time you get close, I'm either going to roll away or try to punish you with a consumable. And that's the playstyle. And if you let me land my hits, you're going to get status affected. And I mean, look at this guy. Like, he's getting the idea. He's starting to come in. But then he starts using his L2, creating that space, and he's immediately set at a disadvantage. And here's another thing too. Play with them. See, he's rolling in there trying to get heal from that madness warmth, right? That madness flame that slowly gives him healing. I go in it. I go in it because I know that's where he wants to be, and he thinks he has an advantage. It's all psychological. It's all psychological warfare with a build like this. It is fun, and I love builds that make you think. I love builds that get in your opponent's head. Those are the most fun, honestly. So, does it feel like cheating? A little bit. Against certain opponents it does, because you're forcing them to play a different game. It's a cat and mouse game, and you know, this mouse has got arrows, this mouse is peppering. Maybe I'm the cat. But see, that's the thing, he's not sure what to do, so he's probably scrolling through his menu here, if I remember correctly. And he's trying to think, alright, how am I going to get this? How am I going to do it? There is another way to beat this build, and it is what he's doing. If you run away and keep your distance and do everything you can to waste your bow build opponent's time, if they're like me, they're going to get impatient and they're going to start making mistakes. There was a whole fight where I lost that I took out of the video because it was literally 3 minutes of the guy running away from me. He ran away until I took out a weapon and I was low health and he was low health and he got the last hit. I might reuse the footage at some point, but you know, that's the lame way to play. But this guy, he's interesting. He got the great bow out. And if it wasn't for the light roll, those great bow shots would be getting me. And those great bow shots would be killing me. Great bow is a whole other build on its own. I'm using the black bow here in this build. I'm using the black bow in this duel because it's my favorite one and it has barrage. I think it's the only long bow, so it's the only bow in its category that has the capacity to use the barrage skill, I believe. All the short bows you can put in the Barrage Ash of War. But mainly what you're going to get here is, you know, black bow is going to be the best bang for your buck in terms of damage. And yeah, that guy put up a great fight. He waited for the perfect moment and he got me. So, you know, the build's not infiable. It's not cheating because it can be defeated. You just have to not make mistakes. And by not make mistakes, I mean you have to close the distance, and when you close the distance, you have to stay aggressive. You have to keep the distance. Use, like, pickled turtlenecks. Use the turtle talisman. Use the endurance tiers in your flasks of physic, right? Like, you want to use items or abilities that allow you to keep pressure on your opponent. Another really good way to beat a bow build like I'm using is don't do what this guy's doing, right? He's rolling away. He's trying to get in, but he has short weapons and little health. And I have him poisoned, so I just messed with him. I took out a weapon to run up to him so he'd keep panic rolling and let the poison take him. Because again, psychological warfare. Status effect arrows, there are a ton in this game. There's bleed, there's frost, there's poison, there's rot, there's different kinds of poison. The snake arrows, like the apply a deadly poison as opposed to the regular poison arrows, or at least I believe it is the case. I have a feeling that different items in these games apply different poison effects, just like they did in Dark Souls 3. There's quite a few videos on YouTube you guys can look up. Limit Breakers is the channel, is what you're going to want to check out when it comes to different status effects in the Souls games. Very good channel. But anyways, I really like this duel that's coming up. I want to commentate on this a little bit. So this guy, he's interesting. He's got some you know, Melania set up there. He's got the nut spell, as I like to call it, where he shoots spores. And he's got the Blade of Mikola, right? He's got the Hand of Melania weapon. Also, I want to comment that I missed an opportunity there. If you use sleep arrows, they are very good on bow builds. They are excellent for putting your opponent to sleep and then peppering them with your other status arrows for just the absolute best damage. Also, I'm pretty sure you get advantage from using the Spear Talisman since arrows do piercing damage. Don't quote me on that. I have to double check and redo my research. And here's the other strategy. You know how I mentioned consumables? Well, look at that. You can use a pocket Hand of Melania I like to use that to fuck with my opponents. It was a lot of fun. It was really great. But, you know, it is what it is. What was I saying earlier? I don't exactly remember, but moving on. Yeah, bow builds. Lots of fun. Keep the distance as best as you can. When people start getting too close, use your consumables like the perfumer's bottles there. I forget which one it's called. The Spark Aromatic, I believe it is. It creates a little wave of fire in front of you, very similar to the Wing of Estelle Ash of War, but fire damage instead of magic damage. Volcano Pot's really good for just intimidating your opponent. On right here, look at that. Look how many status arrows I landed there just for making him fall asleep. Excellent strategy, by the way. And look at the health difference. Like, this guy's already done. This fight's pretty much over. My man's looking like a porcupine. Unfortunately for him, but very fortunately for me. But yeah, no, this status arrows really go a long way. They really, really go a long way. And consumables, excellent. Volcano pots, use them to control the environment. Use them not necessarily to deal damage, but the psychological game when it comes to the volcano pots is using them to force your opponent into positions that you'd rather them be. It's like, oh, you don't like that they keep rolling to the left? Force them to roll to the right. And then when they start rolling to the right, force them back into the left. The trick when it comes not just to bow builds, but Elden Ring duels in general, don't play your opponent's game. Make your opponent play your game. And that's what I meant by, is it cheating? Because when you're playing a bow build in duels, you're already forcing your opponent to play a different game. They're not playing that melee, you know, dodge back and forth. They're playing a game of distance and closing gaps. In fact, it's very similar to the mage build, and mages do have an advantage if they have ranged spells to fight back with the bow. He should be using that Star Shower spell on me a lot more, and he should be going in once he shoots that Star Shower. He should be pressuring me like he kind of did there, but with the Star Shower, I would have been forced to roll, and that's where he could have won the fight. That's what he could have done to make that difference and close that distance. This next fight either goes very much my way or very much not. I don't want to spoil it too much. Oh, yeah, I remember this one. Here's another thing you can do. Lag. Just have a ton of lag and a very long weapon. So you saw how I rolled away and I was 10 feet away? Well, turns out the Godskin Peeler is also... Or, sorry, the Godskin Needle, whatever the hell it's called. Well, turns out it's also a ranged weapon. I didn't know. Just a little bit of lag. You have more reach than the bow itself. 10 out of 10 weapon. Would recommend. Excellent stuff. There was a lot of spaghetti in this fight. I thought my Spark Aromatics were my Flask of Physic. That's why I did that there. Well, look, he's got Bloodhound Step, Poison, and Rot. This is what you want to do. I thought I was spacing those, so I took way more hits than I should have. And that's all he did. All he did was keep the pressure, and that's how you beat a bow build. You have to find a way to close that gap, and when it's closed, you keep it closed. You do not give them a single moment to breathe. And those were the two prime examples. Well, not really. That other example was lag, but he had a long-range weapon, and he had Bleed on it, which could have forced a roll. I like this guy's strategy, but I've seen it before. He was trying to use that darkness to hide the fact that he was going to one-shot me. And you know it's a one-shot build when it only takes 4 poison arrows to kill him. Poison arrows aren't even the highest damaging arrows. I'm pretty sure I could have taken him out in 2 to 3 fire arrows. So remember, kids, level your first stat, which is your health stat. VIGOR. Level that shit right now. Alright? But yeah, interesting build here. I might try at some point. I like the fact that they have a torch pole. And they're using different little fire spells, like the little Wraith Calling Bell there. I like that. The Wraiths are, in Elden Ring, by the way, they're like spirits of the damned, essentially, in this game. You know, spirits that were tortured or hurt or, you know... I have no other words for it, but they were essentially oppressed in the past. And you call them forth so they can seek vengeance. It's something like that. You know, I'm not necessarily the best lore buff. I do watch a lot of lore videos, but I retain about as much information as a goldfish does, so it is what it is. Going back to these builds, though, I like this. I like the creativity of this. But this is the kind of fight that you might expect more often than not when doing a bow build. And I came up with a strategy. When that happens, close the distance yourself and start using your bow like you would a sword. And yeah, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how much when you close the distance, you can turn the game back into its regular, you know, swing dodge dance, you know, this swing dodge exchange where it's like sword versus sword. You can do the same thing with the bow. You just have to use it more creatively. Listen to that. I love the poison because it sounds like they're absolutely suffering when they die. Does that say something negative about me? Yes, probably. Don't worry about it. Let me worry about it. Back to the duels. Nah, but all jokes aside, the sound design in this game, 10 out of 10. Absolutely amazing. The screams that you get from madness builds with fire, like pyromancy builds, are horrifying. Horrifying. Like, literally, like, butt-clenching scary. But, yeah, I'm all over the place tonight, and I apologize if this video doesn't come off as professional as the last, but, you know, still new to this, still new to uploading more regularly on YouTube, and trying to crank out as much content as I can, for you guys. Oh, here's another thing. Status arrows and status builds, where it be poison, rot, whatever you want. It's going to force your opponent into either gritting their teeth and just taking it, or having to heal it. And as you notice in this fight, I use every opportunity that when they heal, I punish. So when they heal, I hit them with something. So whether they're taking the frost, or sorry, not the frost, whether they take the rot or the sleep, it doesn't matter. I'm applying a status effect, not to actually apply the status effect, to give myself more openings for my attacks. And yeah, it's right here, Volcano Pot, so he has to keep his distance. He has no choice. And I put myself back in the position that I want to be. I pretend, yeah, and there you go. That barrage, by the way, really changes the pace of the fight. If they start roll spamming at you, just start using barrage, and if their poise has been damaged already and is lower, they'll get caught in a stun lock. That's the best advice I can give when it comes to them closing the gap as well. If you're out of consumables, if you're out of, you know, stamina, well, not out of stamina, but if you're out of patience for playing the rolling game, start spamming barrage and, you know, have their poise ruined. Also, this guy really scared me with that bleed. I thought I was going to get absolutely one-shot, but I somehow escaped it, and I'll take it. And as you saw there, I got the sleep on him, and then I switched to status effect arrows, and he's already below half health. Turned them into a porcupine. And right here, my man gave up. He thought he rolled into the flame and died. My man absolutely gave up. And that's the power of this build. If you can land sleep and start barraging, it does just a little amount of poise damage, just enough to not wake them up from their slumber. So, yeah. 10 out of 10 strategy there. Now, going back on mages and how they're able to close the distance and or play the same game you're playing. This person has the right strategy. They start using their Swift Glintstone Pebble and punish every time I miss an arrow. So now we're playing a punish game. I'm trying to do the same thing they're doing. I'm trying to predict when they're going to cast so my arrow can punish. They're trying to punish every time I miss an arrow. And that's what this fight turns into. And it's pretty interesting. Like, they really got in my head at that point because I'm like, oh no. And then they healed their status effect while keeping that distance, while walking sideways. And, you know, it got to me. It got to me. I'm like, oh crap, my strategy's not working. I might not win this one. Although the fight is pretty even, and that arrow shot really got me, like, more confident in the situation, it did make me realize, like, I don't have, like, they're forcing me to play their game again. And with those glintstone swords as well, really closing the gap in the distance. Now, I thought I had strafed that, but, you know, a little bit of lag goes a long way. Not to say that they didn't play well. They played perfectly. And if you're a mage, do that. Do what they're doing. Play the same game that I'm playing, but play it more punishingly. So, you know, you can still outskill a bow build, no problem. But if you're not prepared for it, and if you treat it with hesitation, remember Sekiro. If you play the game Sekiro, and you've gone against a few opponents, I don't want to spoil too much, but there is a character in the game who every time he kills you will repeat hesitation is death. And that was drilled into my mind. And so when I come up against an opponent where I start getting punished for hesitation, I flip the script, I change my mind, and I start playing hyper aggressively because I remembered hesitation is death. And so you see this guy here, he's slowing down, he's hesitating. He's trying to close the gap, but there you go, another porcupine. Another porcupine sent to the Erd tree, homie. That's what bow builds are. It's just hitting them with arrow after arrow after arrow. And again, status effects, psychological warfare, you name it. But you know what bow builds can't beat? Ultra great swords. Ultra great sword, poke spamming. And just add a status effect on it, and it's over. My man had the quick draw. He had the rope rot on it. And, yeah. And a little bit of lag. A little bit of lag goes a long way, as I've mentioned before. That arrow that he blocked, I don't know where it came from, but it wasn't from me. And, yeah, I was dead before I hit the ground. That Scarlet Rot got me. Very well played on his end. But you saw how he doesn't hesitate? You saw how he closed the gap and kept the pressure? Ultra Greatsword's excellent for that. Absolutely busted S tier. But anyways, this is our last fight of the night. I don't exactly remember how this goes, but I do remember that I made a little bit of silly mistakes here and there. That being said, if you guys enjoyed the content, and if you guys want to see more, please like, please subscribe. I am slowly getting into more Elden Ring content making. Expect more Duelist Diary videos in the future. And if you guys have any suggestions or ideas for builds that you want to see me try, or you want to see me commentate on, or even topics that you want to hear me talk about in Duelist Diaries, feel free to leave it in the comments section below. I'd love to hear your takes. You know, I'm fairly new to YouTube. Yes, I've had a YouTube channel for a while. Yes, I've posted, but I've actually recently stopped live streaming on Twitch, so I can really focus on my YouTube channel and really just make content on a more regular basis. And it's going to mainly be Elden Ring. I do have other projects in the making, but yeah, that's mainly it. That's mainly what's going down. And this man, absolutely putting up a fight, but he's relying a little too much on his poise and definitely not closing the gap. He tries to play this game with me with the pulley crossbow, but the pulley crossbow, just unless you're using status bolts, you know, it just doesn't beat Barrage. Barrage just deals more damage per second. Anyways, like I've said, this is Big Buppo once again, and yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you guys have a good night, and I hope to see you in the next video. Up here we've got the items and equipment that I used. Yes, I did intentionally make this character look like Griffith, for those of you who are wondering. If you watch till the end, please comment why Griffith is evil in my comment section. Also, here are the stats to the build. Notice that it's more of a quality build than a dex build. You do get more damage that way with the black bow. But that's it, guys.
Subscribe to Big Buppo's YouTube. You must. Or tickle your toes. I will.